Hello, everyone, and welcome to InvenTank, the show for inventors, where I'm joined by a special guest host each and every week to help answer all your burning invention questions. I'm your host, Lisa Lloyd, and we're streaming live today on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube, or you may be catching the replay on your favorite podcasting platform. I'm really excited about today's program because today I have Nisha Sawhney joining me to help answer all of your questions. Nisha is an industrial design expert specializing in a wide range of products, including a baby crib, an electric car, a charging station, a medical device, and IoT or Internet of Things, for those of you who may not be familiar with that. Nisha worked as both a product designer and project manager for global consumer product companies, including, I'm sure you've heard of these, LG, Whirlpool, Westinghouse, Amana, oh my God. And maybe you've heard of, maybe you haven't, Temptu, and Zipz wine, which, by the way, was the biggest deal in Shark Tank history, and many, many more, of course. So drop your questions and comments at any time throughout our program in the chat, and we'll get to them in the order in which they're received. But before we dive into the questions today, please help me welcome Nisha. You can drop that in the chat. Thank you so much for helping me and our audience today, dear.
Thank you so much, Lisa, for having me on your platform. It is my pleasure. And I know your audience is going to love it. All the information I can share with them to educate them to whatever their dreams are, to bring them to reality and avoid mistakes.
And right. And not that there's
hurdles.
Oh, but this is so easy. What hurdles could there possibly be, right?
Yeah.
Now, you specialize in designing products for venturing, for entrepreneurs who want to manufacture and sell, correct? Not so much on the licensing side, more on the development side.
Correct. So product idea from like verbal concept to even a napkin sketch, we take it all the way to manufacturing and having it market ready with packaging, branding, patents, electronics, engineering, mechanical design, everything.
I know you've been involved in a lot of different products. Can you just name maybe a few, 2, 3, 4, maybe depending of your favorites, things that really you got your teeth into for one reason or another?
Wow, there are many actually.
I'm sure, I know. And other than Shark Tank, because that's the obvious, and we're going to have to talk about that.
Yeah.
Can't let that just slide.
Yeah, I think like one thing I can tell you about every project we work on, apart from adding our expertise, we also learn a lot. And the fact that these projects are in such wide variety and industry, that every industry needs a different kind of strategy, different kind of marketing, different kind of research. So it's just fascinating and very interesting. So example, like we designed a TV for LG, which was really I thought it was really, it's very easy and simple to do. But the technicality of that was mind-boggling. And it was very interesting. I loved working on that project. The more challenging it is, the more fun it is for me.
Right.
And it's just like to prove it, like, yes, we can do it. We can figure it out, What
were the challenges that you felt like you needed to solve that were unique? I mean, television to television, right?
Well, yes, I know. So it looks very simple from outside.
Right.
And I have to say that this is a while back when I did this LG project. And this was kind of like a combination of picture tubes. So imagine those times, right? You don't realize how critical these corner radiuses are in picture tube. And those days, I don't want to sound that I'm really old, but
the gray-haired
those days, we had to print out every section and cross-section of each part to see all the interference and check everything with the GM of the company and all the engineers. So there were like so many little details that was kind of had to basically make sure that it's absolutely accurate, because once it goes into production on a plant, like where it's actually producing parts, you can't change any of those. So everything has to be accurate. And LG, like they are really workaholic, and a lot of detail needs to go into this. So everyone is like on top of everything. So it was great, and they work really fast. So that was really fun for me too. Things happen fast, decisions are made fast, things move fast. So it goes into production line fast.
Which can feel probably like a lot of pressure at times, I bet.
Pressure and excitement. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm not afraid of working too much under pressure, but it's the passion to be able to see something out in the market like fast is really exciting.
So you're talking about design, and typically when someone who's totally new, completely green to this space,
Yeah.
and maybe just has an idea, they hear design and they think aesthetics. So can you explain what design engineering, design work is compared to, well, let's just explain what that is for starters.
So if you have no idea about product design, right, and you just have an idea, there's a lot goes into product development. Apart from the basic research, the whole research in itself is one chunk of things that you need to do. Like market research, what exists in the market, who's the competition, like what price point they're selling, where they're selling, what is their message that they're selling, how are they packaging, how long they have been in the market. Very important, what's the reviews, like what are the bad reviews and good reviews, because those are the things you must make sure that you don't have the same issues what other competition is going through. And then where do you place your market? Who is your target market? What price point you want to sell it to? So there's a lot goes on just in the research part. Of course, patent search, what exists in the market, like you don't want to infringe other people's patent. And what are the claims they're filing? So just to get an idea of overall like groundwork that you need to do, that's very important in the product development. What is the materials, the technology? If it's like material related or it's electronic related, what are the components that are easy to get off the shelf versus creating something new? Because creating something new is like really expensive, right? So all these things we have to keep in mind right at the research stage. What is the production looks like? What is the assembly looks like for something like this? All these things we kind of brainstorm right at the beginning, because this is the foundation of their product. If the research is wrong, everything falls down. If the research is solid, the foundation is solid, you can build whatever and you will still be able to do something with it, right?
Yes. Oh my gosh, that could sound overwhelming. It might seem daunting, because if someone is considering what something looks like and makes it prettier than everything else, it could still fail in the marketplace, right?
Yeah.
So it's really not just about aesthetics. It's about designing with an intention in mind. Yes.
Yeah. What is the purpose? How are we going to make it? How expensive or how easy to manufacture it is? How easy to get the materials if it's a unique fabric or something? How easy it is to get that material? Or if you want to invest in creating something unique, what is the cost associated with this? Because think about it, like you're buying a house or buying any expensive car or whatever. You do all your research, no matter what, right? You want to make sure like you're going to live with it. You will live with your product, a new idea, for maybe a year minimum to 2 years or 3 years. You never know how long it'll take you to actually bring that product to market. So you have to do your groundwork. That's the basis of everything what you do. Even to go and buy $1,000 product, you research what are the people talking about, why is it good, why it's bad, like how long I'm going to use it, is it durable enough, can I pass it on to my kids, or all these things. You think about it. So it's the same exact thing. You want to put a dollar in your new idea. You want to make sure you get something out of it.
At least $1 back out of it, right?
Yeah. More, 10 times more, right?
Yeah, hopefully a lot more than that. Yeah. But
exactly.
Losing money is not fun either.
Yeah. So it is daunting, but it is a must thing to do for people. Like it is a requirement if you want to succeed. If you're doing a hobby, that's a different thing.
Right, exactly. A hobby doesn't have to do anything but please you, somehow satisfy you, right?
Exactly.
If you turn it into a business, there's a calculated things that you have to do along the way.
Correct.
So I noticed that your education was in architecture.
Yes.
And you transitioned into this wacky world of innovation. How did that happen?
Oh, I had fun doing architecture, I have to say. It was really good learning material, building spaces, creating schools or buildings and all different kind of projects we did. What I didn't like about it was too slow for me.
You wanted the LG fast method.
Faster. I can see what's happening. I can see like what I created. Plus, I mean, now things have changed, but at that time, if you're in architecture business, if your dad or family member is in architecture at a higher level, you have better chances to go up, up the ladder. But if you're starting, it'll take 5-10 years to get to the level of making decisions for coming up with the whole plan or the whole layout or urban designing or anything. So I was thinking, like, after finishing my architecture, I'm like, oh, what should I do? Urban design, landscape. There's so many other things,
Right.
other master's program. But then industrial design attracted me a lot because even in architecture, a door, a window, or anything that you put inside a building is a product in itself. So architecture is a large scale, but the spaces you design, but then what goes in the space is also important and fun. So I was fascinated. Like I saw a couple of my seniors who were taking a big motorbike in an elevator. I'm like, what are you going to do with this? This is interesting. And our industrial design department was very new at that time, like 2 years actually. So they're going to open apart this bike and learn everything about the bike. And then they will put it together. I'm like, oh, that's really cool. Because no one really look inside what's happening. And so you have to think about like how it was designed inside out. So aesthetically, yes, we can make look everything very pretty. But if it's not manufacturable, if you can't even put it back together, if you don't know the sequence, then it's not going to work,
So true. So I wish that I had the skills to be able to do that in my head or even on a computer, but I have to break things up and put them back together physically to really understand mechanically what's going on, what works, what doesn't, why, and then go to work at solving that to make it better. You talked about research earlier and all of these other steps that you have to go through. And I know that you're known as a designer who actually creates products that sell. That's why you have the types of clients with SNS design that you do. And I'm sure that each of those steps are boxes, so to speak, that you check in methods. Even though every product's different, there are these basic steps I assume that you're taking.
Yes.
With regard to the research, and actually Wendy has a great follow-up question to this, but with regard to the research, what specific questions are what specific questions consistently need to be answered no matter what the product is when you're doing the research?
So if I talk about because I'm a business owner, a designer, an entrepreneur, and a startup company I have. So I've done a lot of things.
You're glutton for punishment like me is what you're saying. I get it.
Yes, I mean, I've done it, so I'm going to share my experience in all these different lines. And what I've learned is whatever you do, an idea or a product, it is going to be a business in itself, right? I mean, you want to make money out of this. If you're going to license it, that's also, you need a brand or you need a design or you have to get a company, open a company, bank account and things like that so that you can easily transition or sell that licensing company or an idea or a product. Or if you want to raise fund, you still need the backbone for all these things. So the first thing I ask them, like, why are you doing this? Is it like something that a hobby or you want to license it or you want to actually build a business or you want to make a prototype and sell the patent and the prototype and you're done with it and collect royalty. So there are so many different things that you have to be very clear why you're doing this and for who you're doing it. What is the purpose? Are you doing this for recurring revenue? Are you going to build a business and give it to your family, like kids, or someone else? What is the idea behind it? This is very important, because if you're not clear in why you're doing this, it usually stalls, and then you lose interest and it's gone. You basically wasted a couple of thousands of dollars in it. So
would you also say that answering the why question up front helps you to then plan the steps that need to be taken? So for example, if I want to license it, that dictates how much data, for example, I need to go out and get to support the idea. That's a little bit unique, or it would look, the manifestation of the result of that research would look different than the research I would be looking for if I was bringing the product to market.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Because you have to come up with the price point. Like, you probably know Shark Tank. Everyone asks for the numbers, the revenue, like what's IP, how much sales you did. So if you don't have the numbers and the picture to even sell it, I'm sure in licensing, like everyone says, like, oh, how is it worth for me to buy this this idea, right? Like, everyone wants to see their numbers, like, what am I going to get out of it if I buy this, and how much money you put in. So I think based on where you want to go, if someone just wants to keep creating ideas and sell that, that's a different story, different path, versus someone who wants to bring the idea to market themselves and manufacture it. Because funding is important for startups. So when you need to raise funds, at what time, and how much money and time and commitment you have, it's very important to lay that down. Sometimes clients come to me, oh, I have this idea, I want to manufacture, but I don't have the funds. So they're very unclear. So I have to basically sit down with them for an hour. We dive deep into everything. Why you're doing it, what's the purpose, how much time can you commit, how much funding can you commit, and then I give, like, this is what I think will be best for your product idea. And then they can decide which way you want to go.
Okay, so Wendy's asking, in terms of research, what advice do you give to private inventors who don't have large budgets? How much is too much in terms of money? How much money is too much or not enough for
research? You do it on your own if you can. That's the best way to save money. And it's basically your time. The more time you put in, the cheaper it is, right? If you hire a firm to do it, of course, you have to pay for it. So research, depending on the budget, the research works. Some companies put in thousands of dollars just in research.
Yeah.
And some people have a couple of $100 to put in the research, right? So based on the budget, you have to decide how much you want to do the legwork yourself and how much you want to give it out. So I think everyone is good in doing basic research, at least on their own. Specifically, like, if you buy any product for yourself, you do research anyway. What's the price? What other products exist? Something basic, you can do it on your own. I do recommend them to at least get a patent research done by a professional, so that at least you know what exists in the legal world. And in terms of research, like, we do our own research, and it's a very thorough research, because this is important for us, what we're going to design, what exists in the market, who's there, what's the price point. So yes, we do charge our client professional fee, but it all depends how much client is bringing to us versus how much we'll have to do legwork. So if they already did the patent search, we'll just take that and work with that, right? Or if we have to do it, we'll get the patent search done. So it depends, like, what services they want. So research can go from 2,500 like patent search to 10,000, 15,000. I don't know what the product is. And also depends on the product, right? Like, if it's something very simple, one material, something so simple like a plate, that would cost too much.
Right. Some things are easier than others.
Like I'll give you an example. We did just working. I'm finishing and actually moving into manufacturing for a product which involves LCD screens. So we did so much research in LCD screens that we actually had to contact the vendors, because if this is what we're going to use, we want to make sure we'll have stock when we actually manufacture them. You know, so that gets very important. Like what material, what components we're using, and who's going to actually supply at the end.
And that all goes back to answering the why questions along the path as well. Why are we doing it? Who are we doing it for? If I'm doing it for an aging audience that struggles with dexterity or, you know, pain in their hands or whatever, then I need to make sure that I am designing with that intention in mind. And that might take more research into ergonomics, or maybe even getting external collaborative type experts to help you understand how to develop something specifically for that need, right? So that would get more expensive versus, I love what you said about patents, because there's a constant debate. And I think that I think both people are right and both people are wrong. They're just not answering the right question is the problem. As far as research goes, when you're venturing, you're risking a lot more. You're investing not just in the development of that product, but the development of the idea, the R&D, not just the front end. Now you've got the back end of making and commercializing and just, you know, distributing everything that's involved with that, which is a lot more risky because it costs a lot more time and money. So I'm going to invest more on the front end in making sure that that intellectual property, for example, is safe, because I know that I'm going to have to defend or enforce it at some point.
Yes.
If it's successful, there's a good chance that someone will at some point force me to have to defend or enforce my rights. On the other hand, if I'm licensing it and the company has to do it, and I'm playing more of a numbers game, we'll say, which is not my strategy at all, but I know that a lot of people do, and that's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
But if you have a whole bunch of ideas that you're just kind of putting out there in front of as many companies as you can and treating it that way, maybe you don't invest as much. Maybe the strategy, going back to the why, if that's your strategy, then instead a quick search on your own, a quick provisional application, and then go hit those, you know, start door knocking, dial and smile, right? Different strategy. You know the answer to the why, then I think, Wendy, that will help answer you for yourself. So you can make your own good business decision.
Correct. And as you mentioned about patent, like I never ask my clients to go and run and file a non-provisional patent. That's the last thing I'll ask them to do right before, like, you know, once we finalize the whole design, because it does cost a lot of money to file a patent. I mean, I filed a patent for my medical device in 14 countries. I know how much money I had to spend.
Oh my gosh.
So luckily we got it. And by the way, a lot of people don't even realize, like I can give a class just on patents if people want that. It's because I learned it. I spent on that, right? Like all these things. And you don't realize that, oh, we got the patent in 2 countries. Now we have to pay for the maintenance, and then we have to pay for the correspondence with the lawyers and stuff. So those things adds up.
That's right.
Like big time.
They do.
So yeah.
Which is fine if it's profitable.
Exactly.
Right. I used to teach, and I still teach this in the context of my program, but when I used to do these one-day seminars, and I got to the patent section, of course, I did all the legal disclaimers. Not a lawyer here, folks. I can teach you basically what you need to understand about it so you can make some basic business decisions about it. But these are all business strategies. They are not legal strategies. And they're, again, going back to the why, you have to consider both. So I want a legal opinion of why this will or won't work. And then I also want a business opinion, which I'm probably going to determine on my own based on the data and the research that I do about what the strategy is. Maybe I do a design patent instead, or maybe I file a utility instead of a provisional because I know that I want to license it, for example, to a company that only accepts issued patents. Well, what's the point of filing a provisional? Because that's just delaying the time it's going to take to get it issued, right?
True. Yeah.
So thank you so much for explaining that. I think there's a really big difference. What are the most important steps when you're researching? Back to the question about researching. The first one you say is obviously determining the market and the patentability. What goes into now shaping the actual design of the product?
So after we do all the research, what exists in the market, what are the features, what are the benefits we want to have in this product idea, that's when we start on the drawing board. So SNS has 3 steps: define, design, and develop, right? So in the define stage, we define everything, what I just explained to you in terms of research. And once the research is finished, we come up with a final design brief that basically goes to the design phase. And based on those features and benefits and the material and the electronics or mechanical detail, we combine everything and then start designing the product. So depending on the client's budget also and how clear they are or how far they want to take it, we can come up with like 20 designs or 3 design, whatever they want, depending also on the product, right? So when I was working for Whirlpool, they needed like 20, 30 designs, let's just say. LG was so quick, like fast. Oh yeah, 3 designs, good. Well, this is perfect, let's move on. So every person, every business, every company is very different what they want, how much budget they want, right? But we provide them wide variety of ideas and features, and then client decides they want to combine this idea or this feature from this product, concept, and add to this one and change this other details. But when we design, when we actually go straight, like we start basic sketching and then we jump straight into 3D modeling. It just reduces our time and then also helps us identify all the future production issue that we may have while we are working on this 3D design. So in 3D design, we actually design it for manufacturability, assembly, and bill of materials. So all these things goes while we are designing the product itself. So, and then client finalize, of course, client approves every stage and step, and then we go to the next stage, and then the final is the development stage.
Do you find your, and I know you have your own inventions like you just mentioned, are they typically improvements on an existing product when you're working with large organizations, or are they genuinely novel, like starting from scratch, new ideas?
Typically, like a large companies usually have an additional product line. So of course, additional features, if they do have their own new technology that they want to incorporate in the product, then we help incorporate that. And aesthetically, of course, it has to be unique, it has to be sellable, and to be able to go to the market faster. Also doesn't cost them too much in production. They count every cent in larger corporation. In the startups, go ahead.
So they're most often with companies, they're most often incremental changes with maybe improvements with new tech or something like modifications of materials or whatever to improve it, correct?
Okay. So we design for hire is another company, for appliance company. We design a lot of product for them: air conditioner, air purifier, humidifiers, and stuff. So with the air conditioner, we definitely gave a completely new look, and it kind of interesting. Like we kind of set up a trend for that design, like a speaker-looking design, and now I see that in every product, like the copy, which is great.
Yeah.
So something we did, great.
Right.
So the simplest thing what we offer them is like, people don't think there are vision impaired people who are also a part of this society, and they need to be able to use your appliance and electronics and stuff. So why don't we add a very simple feature, Braille enhanced feature in your control panels, so everyone can use this, because I personally had an experience with someone, a neighbor, who couldn't see, like she lost her sight after 35 years, and then she was burning stuff in microwave all the time because she couldn't figure out. So that simple, small additional feature didn't cost them a cent to do that, but helped them give a new storyline, opened up to new audience market, and showing that they care,
Yeah, and they do, and that's awesome.
Yeah.
So actually that segues really well into something that I'm dying to ask you about. And you mentioned this in your bio, but everyone, well, I hope, and if you haven't, if our audience hasn't read the book Good to Great, they need to. I would highly recommend it. It's an older book, and so some of the case studies aren't exactly current, but they're still relevant, and we can learn from them. What is it that you do that takes a product that may have only been good without you, making it great with you, and then generated more sales? What's that magic difference between good and great that causes your products to sell through in the marketplace compared to most?
So we see the holistic picture from business point of view. I think I put more business mindset also in the product. Maybe that's the difference between my company and others. I want to see how my client will be able to make money out of this. And we make sure that it is less expensive to manufacture, easy to manufacture, and then they have like really easy path. We take care of all their problems or issues or hurdles, and we want to make sure like they're actually making money at the end. So I don't want to say anything about other companies. What I learned is like some clients come to me after they went to other design firms and maybe even freelancer, and they just give them the design, but there's no logic behind it. Like what is the profitability of this product? How do you sell it? Like you have to show what's there and how you can place this, even to show. Like some of my clients' product, I say like, I have these connections. Maybe I can present it to them. Some kind of vision that how you're going to actually sell it at the end. Because making it, yes, we can design, and I have really hard time like when my client get the prototype and they do nothing with it, just sitting on it, right? So I'm like, what are you doing? Like, what's next? Like, okay, I have this connection. Do you want me to connect you with them? And see where can you go next. So maybe that's the difference, because I really want my client to be able to sell their product and do really well. Like my Shark Tank client is a great example. They did so well.
You literally were reading my mind. I was pulling it up so I could show our audience while we're talking. So you go ahead. Let's dive right into that. I want to show everyone here while you're talking. There we go.
Yes.
Zipz wine. Tell us all about it.
So Zipz wine is they're still my amazing friend and a client or whatever you want to call it. We have a great relationship. And we started working with them on a completely different product for air purifier for hotel industry. And my client really loved working with me and it's like, Nisha, I have a personal project and I was wondering like, what can we do? We have great quality wine and we wanted to make a single serve packaging. So I was like, perfect, So we brainstormed and I was like, this is how I feel the product should be like. And they're like, oh, this is great. And I didn't realize how much money they raised after that sketch. And I'm like, great.
That was huge.
So that was a perfect client for me who knew and who moves fast and who can also get funding. So for this particular product, we did everything for them: product, packaging, graphics, branding, investor presentation, manufacturing files, point of purchase too, and banners. So we were their in-house team and all they needed to do is go and sell, right? So they had the right connections to go out and sell. And we were the right partner to make it happen and take all their hurdles, manufacturing hurdles or any kind of issues, and just give them the products, whatever they needed to be able to sell it. So for example, they went to Gallo or Manager or Fetzer for a licensing deal. We created the branding and the packaging specifically for that brand and a prototype that they can feel it in their hand with their branding and packaging on it. And all they needed to do is like 5 minutes to go and sell it. So we made sure we had everything.
Make selling sound easy. It's not, which it's not. But yes, you are right. Because they're both so huge to get that off. your desk.
Yeah.
And especially when you're dedicating the resources to someone that you know you can trust to get that job done for you so that you can be focused on the task of getting it into the hands of consumers. There's so much peace of mind there that I know I didn't have with TC Pets, which was the one I was on Shark Tank with.
Okay. Yeah, like that's what I asked the first question, my client, like, okay, you want to move forward with this. What connections do you have in the same industry that you can push your product? Do you know a friend, a family, or someone, or a coworker who knows the top people who are actually the decision maker? Because that makes your life really easy. Then all you need to do is just focus on getting this ready and getting into their hands.
Right.
Right?
Okay. Doug is asking, I have a product, and hello, Doug, by the way, I know it's your first time joining us. Welcome. I have a product that has been out in the marketplace. I started in 2018 by testing sales of my solid flotation device, which we retailed for $89 to $99 each. Now I'm developing an inflatable design. Would you and your team review my project for market maximization? Most work has been done on the side of the IP, testing proof of concept and customer testimonials.
So the inflatable, I'm sorry, is it already done or you have to?
Yes, so he's been making it and selling the solid version. And I know that after and doing relatively well, I would say especially well for most people who get started in this.
Do you mind telling me what the product is?
Direct to market. It's a flotation, like any other flotation in the pool type of thing.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. So he's just got a really cool improvement on that. And through those sales, one of the learnings that came up, customer insights that organically revealed itself to him, was that hotels and some others were more interested in stocking something that was inflatable. And I'm sure you can imagine why. But why don't you go ahead and explain for our audience how that probably came to be, and then you can help answer Doug's question as well.
Yeah, so for inflatable, the main issue is the leakage. That's what everyone talks about, right? If you can take care of that or give a really good customer service, returns, or all that stuff.
Interesting.
Then it'll be perfectly fine. But we can definitely help look at your product and see what other markets can it be applied to by changing a little bit features or design. That's what I love to do for my clients, like expand their market segment to be able to sell it in all different kind of market, like the benefit, not just one purpose, but multi-purpose if possible. Some products can be just very niche depending on what you're doing, right?
Right.
So, yeah.
So the answer to Doug's question would be yes, but
yes.
I've popped up your 2 URLs. Why don't you go ahead and explain if there's anyone else listening or watching that would like to learn more about how they could work with you, and then we'll get back to those questions.
Sure. So SNS design is mainly for product design, development, packaging, all the way from concept to manufacturing. We work a wide variety of clients, as you mentioned, like global clients. We work with Switzerland client, Japan. People come to us from word of mouth or referrals, a lot of referrals. So they find us on Google and contact us. The first step, what I do with our new clients, we do a consultation. There is a price for it, but it's a kind of like a crash course for my client, one-to-one, and we deep dive into the product idea, the market, the whole strategy, what we need, and what's the end goal. Kind of like it's a great eye opener for my client, as well as see the whole picture, what it takes to go from this level to the next, actually the final end goal, like what does it require. So that's what I do with my entrepreneur and startup clients in SNS design. The large companies are different. The Fortune 500 companies are totally different. They mainly come to us for design and engineering, but they have their own manufacturing facility, production, testing, all the other certification. So we don't get involved with them in for the large companies. Independent entrepreneurs are also, I love working with them because they are clueless, and I love to help them and teach them, because what they learn in this consultation, they can apply in all the different ideas. They can share with their family. They're more knowledgeable when they're making any other decision, or help their friends and family who are in the same position. So it's great because it gives me and my client focused time to work on their idea, right? And then we help them from all the way from start to end, or even if they're in the middle of a project from some other company. That I've come across so many of my clients who got burned, or lost traction, or something didn't work out, and they come to us and we take it from there to find a solution. So that's for SMS design. Coach My Idea was born because of all the pains that I saw in my client entrepreneurs and startups, all the mistakes they were making and not having the right expert at the right time. They lost a lot of money or wasted a lot of money and didn't do anything. They didn't have any direction. So Coach My Idea is a business building platform to help entrepreneur and inventor to take an idea from start to market by connecting with the right expert at the right time. So this is very important, what I've learned. And that's what I've seen it's like almost 20 years in this business, working with such variety of clients and companies and industry, that I was like, at least for entrepreneurs, they can pay just a little bit and then learn, and step by step, so they don't get all confused or make too many mistakes, expensive mistakes sometimes.
Yeah.
So, right.
Yeah.
So Coach My Idea is for entrepreneurs, so they can get real expert and also get advice. I mean, right now we're finalizing the back end of booking with the experts who are in the system. That way they can just log in, schedule a call with the expert, a patent attorney or an engineer or a manufacturer, or even a business attorney if they want to open a business. So then the accountant will be there. So everyone will be there to help you. And of course, so Coach My Idea is kind of like do it yourself, or we can hold your hands and work with you, or we'll do the whole project for you. That's an S.
Okay, so Doug, I hope that answers your question. If you just want coaching on how to do it yourself, coachmyidea.com would be the right place to go and book a call. Or if you're looking for a service that will perform all of that legwork and diligence for you, then you can go to snsdesign.com and book your call there. Either way, you're going to get Nisha and you're going to have a great experience. And if for some reason you go to the wrong site, it's no big deal. I'm sure she'll point you in the right direction.
Yes.
All right. So one of the things that is a pet peeve for me is back to this research thing.
Yeah.
We're talking about going from good to great. And it sounds to me, maybe because I'm listening for it and I'm biased, that the most exceptional products have answered all of those questions, have spent the appropriate amount of time, whatever that is, determining where the demand is, what the demand is, who has it, in other words, and solved with design thinking in mind, solved with a feature set that delivers those benefits, which of course leads to a better experience for that user. So the more time you spend up front, the more successful the product is, or the more of the right time is probably even a better way to say it. Yes?
Right. Yeah.
Maybe you can help me answer this question, because like I said, it's a pet peeve of mine. Why do you think it's so difficult, even for companies, to take the time to really validate the answers to all those questions and make sure that they're innovating solutions that people really care about? Why is this so difficult?
Well, large companies, if you're talking about large companies, Fortune 100
we'll
companies.
Start there and we're going to back it all the way down to the inventor. Yes. But let's start with even companies. Yes.
Large companies have budget allocated for research. Mm-hmm. They have a standard budget that they have to use that, right? And large companies are always coming up with new product line and ideas, and they have people to give salary to, right? If they don't innovate, their company will go down, right? So they have to invest a lot of money. Like the Dyson, they probably made 600 prototypes before they come up with one product to launch, right? So As a great example, Google Glasses. Can you imagine how much money they poured into the product? And I have to say, right when it came out, I was thinking that it's not going to work. Why? Because you have like a Wi-Fi right next to your brain. It's going to fry because technically you're not supposed to use your phone close to your head. Anyway, you have to keep it away. So why would you put something right next to your brain? Which I didn't understand. But they did spend billions of dollars, like millions of dollars. But at the end, it didn't sell. They took it out from the market. So no matter what, every company has to take risk. Business is a risky business. No matter what you do, you lose little or more.
I get it. There's risks, and there's unknown unknowns. No matter what you do, therein lies the risk. The unknown.
If you don't do it, you'll never know.
But at least, but there are known unknowns. I love to say, there are knowns, then there are known unknowns, and then your unknown unknowns. And the unknown unknowns are the ones that kick you in the butt. Those are the ones that leave you bloody on the floor, wishing, you would never started the thing in the first place, right? Metaphorically, hopefully. But people they're not asking themselves the right questions to do the right research because they don't know that they don't know that they need to know. So so let's go back to, and I see a couple of really good questions coming out, and I'm going to follow up with the questions from Joel and Troy here next. What, in just a few words, if you can, a short sentence, what are the steps for the research? What questions do you need to know the answers to, or should you at least be asking about your product before you ever invest a whole lot of time and money, other than patent, just on the product and the consumer type research specifically? What do we need to know?
Why you're doing it, who's your market, what are the other products that exist in the market, what they're selling it, if they are selling, why they're selling, if they're not selling, why they're not selling, right?
Right.
Where they're manufacturing it, who I can sell it to, like for licensing, or to sell your idea or have a product, and which company you want to license to or sell to. Are these companies are open to take ideas from outside? What is their business ethics?
Wow.
They're going to steal it or not, or they're good, like they're open, they're good, like they will take ideas and they properly give them royalties. And the third thing is, if you're doing it yourself, where are you going to sell? If it's in Amazon, Instagram, or a store, what kind of connections you have in all these areas? If you want to sell it just on Amazon, do you have the marketing? Do you have the team to actually make it happen? Because all these segments require some kind of experts to work on these parts, right? You cannot do it on your own. I can't do things on my own, all these things. So do you have the right team for each bucket? Because these are the things that will actually drive your train and get to where you want to. If you're missing the engine or the coal or whatever, now it's different. It won't work. You will get there, but if you have a goal in mind and where you start, there are different paths you can go to and reach your goal. So it depends, like which path you want to take. And if these things are all filled up, all these buckets are filled up. I'll give you a great example of my Coach My Idea. This is an online business. It's a totally different business than what I'm doing, right? Online business, a digital business, is a different ball game. Right. I learned a lot. So I needed a team, someone to actually do the programming, to design it, to also brainstorm with me. I had a mentor who was great in SaaS business, so I understood what are the steps that I need, what are the people that I need, what kind of scope of work do I have to give them? Because I didn't know what to even ask them. Like, what are they supposed to do?
Right, exactly.
What are they charging for? I had no idea. So I was able to use his knowledge and then ask the questions. And I learned quite a lot on my own too. But there are always hurdles. I'm not going to say like I didn't make mistakes by designing this product, because I had to fire a lot of people. Some people just leave, they were a freelancer, or the other company comes, they come up with a different idea. They want to completely change your idea. And I'm like, no, this is my business. This is how it should be. And I don't want to change it. So they come in and waste your time and money. Then you keep move on, right? But you never stop. You will always end up getting different things. But if I had a consultation like this, what I'm doing with SNS, oh my God, it would have saved me so much money and time. But now we're at the stage like, okay, we built it, then we have to raise funds. What kind of things the investors will be interested in looking at? So all these things needs to be planned ahead, as much as you can. You cannot plan everything, but as much as you can.
All right, folks, I don't know if you got a chance to write those down fast enough, so hit replay if you need to. But even if you don't know why you need to be asking these questions, I promise you, if you start to ask the tough questions, and maybe you get to one that you say, oh, we really don't need to know the answer to this, but you're going to have a reason for not needing to know the answer. At least you've asked the question and checked the box. And this is a safer way to mechanize your systems and your processes for bringing products to market, because these are questions we have to get answers to. Even if the answer is, I don't need the answer, right? We need to be able to ask these questions. Okay, so Joel, I love this question. Nisha, can you give some examples of product ideas that you have encouraged potential clients to not pursue any further?
Oh my God. Yes.
You'd be lying if you said
I
no.
can't give them their ideas to everyone, but yes. Some people, I mean, these are my old clients. They come up with me like, oh, I have this idea. This is great. I've done my research. No one did it. And what do you think and stuff? And we do a quick research. I'm like, look, this is a huge market for you to get in. Just to get into this market, it's not worth it. And the amount of money that you're putting in, it's hard. Like if it's a huge market with so many tons of products in the same category, it's going to be really hard unless this is something totally unique. So, and then they agreed to it, and they were like, yeah, that makes sense. There's another client of ours. He had 3 ideas, big ones, and he wanted to pursue all 3 of them and at the same time. So yeah. I said no. So we did a complete like consultation. We brainstormed on all of them, and I said like, this is the most viable idea, more doable, and because each one will cost him a couple of hundreds and thousands of dollars. So I said like, you have to pick, because at the end it's their business decision what they want to do, how much they can spend, right? Yeah. So I said like, let's go with one, and then we'll do the research for all 3 of them, so that you can see what is the foundation for these projects, what's required, and how much approximately cost it'll be for producing it. So it's laid down in front of them, and then they can see clearly, okay, this makes more sense. This is what I'm most excited about, and let's go with this. The other one, let's leave it, because sometimes some products might need a lot of clearance or certification and all that headaches. Right. Do you want to go with that versus like something we want to just like make it, see it and license it or sell it, you know? So we see the timeline also. So yes, I tell them.
Sometimes, yeah. And Joel, I know the question wasn't for me, but I'm just going to add from my experience. I have a student who has this awesome new cell phone holder. You want to talk about a crowded space. When he first brought it to me, I was like, I love you, dear. I want to help you with this, but seriously, this is going to be a lot. The odds of this are just not very good. It's the same amount of work for all of them, right? At the end of the day, when your intention is to license specifically, not venture, they're all pretty much going to be the same amount of work. But when we were prioritizing his 25 or whatever number of ideas, and I have something called an idea priority calculator. And so we were going through and prioritizing. Yeah. And that one had a low degree of difficulty, very inexpensive to mock up, do a proof of concept. So it ranked very high, with one exception. It's just very crowded, competitive marketplace. And compared to his other ideas, to your point, Nisha, what you were just saying, some of them were going to take a lot longer and be a lot more expensive. And he really believed in it. And at some point, you also have to go with your gut, which is going to lead into our next question. But when he weighed all of that out, he decided it was a calculated cost. He went into it eyes wide open. This is a big space. I don't know what's going to happen, but I can do I can do the research, develop and design the thing based on the research, protect it, get a PPA, and just at least throw it in front of the companies and see what happens. The nice thing is, because it is such a crowded space, there are also hundreds of potential companies to license it to. Unlike a lot of categories where you have maybe 3 or 4 who dominate the category to license it to. So we'll see what happens. But I don't know. I'm not sure where you were going with the question, Joel, but I hope that you found some insight in that.
Well, I can answer like similar for that, because we've done products for phones, iPhones, and we designed the sleekest retracting system for headphones, like for an iPhone case,
which I've seen hundreds of too, right?
Now there are a lot. Now you can. I mean, like we also did for to store your AirPods also in the case and charge it too. So the interesting thing about iPhones are every 6 months there's a new model. Everything changes, the overall size and all that stuff changes. So if you're designing anything for phone, design in a way that it's not constrained with the phone size. So it's universal. It can go for an Apple or Android or every other product. That way, because each product, if it's catered to the specific phone size, each model needs an injection molding tool. You want to stay away from that.
Right. And if you're going to design for a very large, crowded category, then you really have to consider what your disruptive difference is.
Correct.
Where is that meaningful differentiation that will cause someone to pick yours up over the other? Because there's a good chance that they're going to pay more for yours, for starters.
Yeah. Also identify who you're going to sell it to, which company you want to license, right? Right there. Just start making contacts right there and then. Because once you have things ready, you can easily present it, because building these connections with these companies who you want to sell it to is also not that easy, unless yourself, Lisa, like if you have connections, that makes a complete difference. So that's also very important.
It does, but I also treat, like every trade show, when I'm meeting and making connections, even if they say no to a product that I'm talking with them about, that's okay. I want the learning from it, because that's so valuable. So now I have that connection, and I can always go back based on the learning of what they're looking for, what they're interested in, what they're motivated by, all of that stuff. It becomes very helpful. All right, so we only have a few minutes left. These hours just always fly by, Nisha, especially when it's a fun conversation. Troy is asking, and this goes back to your point earlier, I believe, with like Google Glass and failures, and designing research. What about Apple? They never did customer research. I don't know if that's true. I can't imagine that they did.
I don't think that's true.
What's that?
I don't think that's true. I mean, every company has to do research. I mean, they can, like, innovation in a material, a completely unique material or something like that, that's totally different. I mean, you still have to do research to be able to make sure that, is it viable? Like, who's going to buy it? I'll give you an example. There are, this foldable screens, LCD screens and all this, and everything. Everyone's thought like, oh my God, this is going to be the next new tech thing. And everyone should use it. Like, every phone will be foldable. But how many people do you actually see using it? And this technology I saw like 5-6 years ago. I mean, it's old, but still no one is using it. So yes, it's great, but the viability and, by the way, Apple is just not a product. Marketing, how you market it, the user experience. I mean, there's tons of things around it to actually make it like an amazing product. Just their packaging is amazing, like how it comes out of the box, each and every detail. So it's a brand,
So, and Troy sent a follow up here. It says, Steve Jobs admittedly refused. I just got done listening to his biography. So Apple is not Steve Jobs. Let's just make that distinction. And the people who designed the products, which is what we're talking, the subject that I just want to be real specific about right now in this context. And so while obviously that is true, and I don't dispute what was true for him or what you read about him, but in the context of how the staff and the team did the designs that he issued. So he might have had a vision, a gut instinct, like I mentioned earlier, for something that was going to make life easier. And he still tasked his team then to create it. And don't think that in fact, he also, in the documentaries and stuff, I can't remember the name of the person when he came back to Apple, who became his lead designer. He talked about how he drew his concepts from other products and applied them in the Apple way to their design. They looked at ergonomics. They looked at use cases. They considered trends. That's why, and in fact, it failed because they did a poor job of it. I think it didn't fail. I shouldn't say that. But one of the things that actually helped Apple over the hump when they first became big was when they came out with what was that? It wasn't iMac, or was it the one that was colored? Remember, they had blue and green, the computers, Nisha?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I don't remember. But what you mentioned about, like, Steve was always talking to his team. No one can just come up with like brilliant idea and then just go ahead and do it and then come up with like a whole solution and produce it. No, I mean, a team is so important. I mean, his partner, even a friend of yours, I mean, you have to brainstorm with them to be able to see, like, someone is good at one thing, but someone is good at another, they have another talent.
So research takes different shapes, in other words. It's in the context of inventors and the research you should be doing, because you have zero experience. Maybe you're a mechanic and you come up with a new tool. So your gut is the same thing as Steve Jobs. You're in that space, you know that space so well. You know that this is a real solution for you, but you still should validate, because you don't have millions of dollars like Apple does, right, to just push it out there. You should definitely be validating those ideas and making sure that there is a big enough demand from enough people. And then also considering from a design aspect, before you actually invent it, what other people's experience who are performing that same task, what is their experience with it? And they're just living with it. That's why Jobs also said, well, Ford said if they wanted better, if I asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. And Jobs talks about that also. That's why they don't do that type of customer research, because they are visionary. They're way out there, but they are still validating and they are still researching ergonomics, design, technology. They have to still dig into and get under the hood. So maybe they're asking different questions, but they're still asking those questions. Yes? Nisha, somehow you're muted again. There you go.
Yeah. No, it's true. And I was thinking about that. Well, when I designed the electric car charging station, it was 2010, and it was way too early for the market at that time. Who knew? Because it was a fully functional working prototype to be able to charge electric cars, but they didn't even have grids at that time, So yes, sometimes you're way ahead of time, but yeah. That was it.
We didn't even talk about your airbrush, which I really wanted to, because that's another one of my inventions. I had a CO2 powered airbrush, but maybe we can have you back sometime. Would you agree to do that?
Sure, I can do that.
Wonderful, because we're out of time today, folks. So I have to wrap up. I hope that you've enjoyed the show today. And if you have, please consider sharing us. Maybe share the link with your network or anybody else that you think might benefit from the replay. You can also find us InvenTank on Spotify, iHeart, or Amazon Music, as I mentioned earlier. And when you subscribe, you help me grow the audience, which helps me engage and get more and even better guests. So please follow us on any of your social networks. Thank you again, Nisha, so much for being here. I'm going to pop up your contact information one more time for anybody who maybe missed it earlier. If you're trying to reach out to Nisha, you can go to SN as in Nancy, design.com, or you can go to coachmyidea.com and you can book a call with her.
Great. Thank you so much, Lisa. And I hope I was able to help a lot of entrepreneurs and inventors. And if they have any other questions or anything, definitely reach out to me. I love to help inventors and entrepreneurs, startups.
That's awesome.
What I love doing.
Thank you. Yes. So I get calls all the time from people who want to venture. That is, I've done it. I'll never do it again. That's what it taught me. So I'm going to send them to you. I appreciate you so much. When they want to venture, they can maybe be the next wonderful Shark Tank story like your other client was.
Yeah.
If you want to license, on the other hand, feel free to go to the inventionaccelerator.com and you can book a free call with me. I'll see you all next week. Thanks for joining us today.
Great.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you, Lisa. Great
Thank you.
talking to you. Bye.